Trump's senior attorney, Sidney Powell, appeared on Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo. She dropped a bombshell of major proportions, promising to overturn the election results in several swing states. Dr. Steve Turley gives us a glimpse into what may very well be a game-changer to the election dispute. Then he goes on to explain how
Trump's lawyers and some legal experts are predicting that this election will indeed be overturned, as the evidence that they'll be producing promises to shock the nation. In this video, we're going to take a look at the ratcheted up rhetoric of Trump's legal team over the weekend, how they're saying they're ready to release the kraken of the mountain of evidence of voting improprieties, and how such a release promises to completely overturn this election unlike anything we've ever seen. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Great to be with you. Dr. Steve here. Yes, the doctor's in the house. President Trump's lawyers have ratcheted up the rhetoric over the weekend. Now, while we were seeing hundreds of thousands of demonstrators descend on D.C. in a massive show of support for President Trump, which if you haven't seen it, you definitely want to check out our awesome video montage of the Stop the Steal rally in D.C. on Saturday. It was absolutely amazing. But as all of that was going on, Trump's legal team is now coming out and confidently declaring that they are indeed poised to overturn the election results. And of course, that overturning will be to Trump's favor. Rudy Giuliani was on the Maria Bartiromo show on the fledgling Fox News network, and he disclosed that they have put together ironclad evidence that will most definitely overturn the election results, particularly in Pennsylvania and Michigan, first and foremost, which will, in his estimation, overturn the election results in Georgia, Wisconsin, and Arizona. Now, if you're not familiar with what's going on here in terms of strategy, Trump's legal team is launching a battle at two fronts, okay? So they're launching a barrage of legal challenges, which in effect is their air war. And at the same time, they're pushing for legislative challenges, which is in effect their ground war, okay? So you've got legal battles going on, and you've got legislative battles going on. You've got your air war and your ground war. So as far as the legal battles are concerned, the legal front itself involves a twofold strategy. Trump's lawyers are charging election fraud. These election fraud cases are being led by Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, who's the incredible lawyer of Michael Flynn on the one hand, and they're charging impropriety on the other, where either the courts or the Secretary of States in these various states engaged in unconstitutional activities in overriding the state legislatures and prescribing the time, place, and manner of elections when such authority is given to the state legislatures alone by the U.S. Constitution. So in terms of the legal challenges, both Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell made bombshell allegations over the weekend that they had ironclad evidence that the election was rigged, particularly in states that were using the now infamous Dominion voting systems. Now, while they're not able to divulge the evidence explicitly, according to them, if the reality is anywhere even remotely near their rhetoric, we're looking at a level of fraud that is going to blow everyone's mind. And that's precisely what Sidney Powell said on Eric Bolling's show. She went even further on Marie Bartiromo's show, saying that the voting software that was used by the Dominion systems was actually designed to be rigged. The voting software comes from a company called Smartmatic. And interestingly, the chairman of Smartmatic, who's a fellow by the name of Peter Neffinger, he's reported to be on Joe Biden's transition team. Now, here's how she put it. Quote, "We're fixing to overturn the results of the election in multiple states, and President Trump won not by just hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were shifted by this software that was designed expressly for that purpose. We have sworn witness testimony of why the software was designed. It was designed to rig elections. He was fully briefed on it. He saw it happen in other countries. It was exported internationally for profit by the people behind Smartmatic and Dominion. They did this on purpose. It was calculated. They've done it before. We have evidence from 2016 California. We have so much evidence. I feel like it's coming in through a fire hose." Now, this is obviously very, very significant if Trump's legal team can back this rhetoric up with reality, with clear ironclad evidence. And that's because Bartiromo reported that Dominion voting machines were used in 2,000 jurisdictions in 30 states. And again, the key in all of this is the Trump team has got to produce the evidence that they're alluding to here in a court of law. But if that evidence, again, it comes anywhere close to the seriousness of these bombshell accusations, this is going to be astonishing beyond belief. Now on to the impropriety cases. This is where the Trump legal teams are seeking to throw out any and all votes that were cast as a direct or indirect result of non-legislative actions that change the time, place, and manner of voting in these swing states. Now, the key here is that the United States Constitution gives the sole right to schedule time, place, and manner of elections to state legislatures, right? So not Secretary of States, not judges, not election officials, but in a number of these swing states, like Pennsylvania, for example, either the courts or the Secretary of State or a combination thereof messed with the voting dates and procedures. And the Trump legal team wants the courts to throw those votes out, those votes that were cast as a result of the interference of these non-legislative officials. And again, over the weekend, Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, right? I'm sure you know the outspoken Democrat who defended President Trump during the whole Senate impeachment fiasco. Dershowitz is predicting that the president will prevail in his Pennsylvania lawsuit. Now, again, if you don't know, we've talked about this on other videos. We actually have an entire video dedicated solely to it, but by a vote of 4-3, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decided to change the date of the election. Okay, so the Pennsylvania legislature designated the deadline for all votes, both in person as well as mailed-in ballots, to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 3rd. The moment polls close, it was, of course, you know, all of this was to avoid the insanity that we've seen ever since. If people's votes could be received after the polls close at 8 p.m. deadline, that's inviting all kinds of election shenanigans. But that didn't seem to matter to the liberals on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. They voted 4-3 to change the election date to 3 days after November 3rd. And what the president's legal team is doing here is they're suing Pennsylvania for unconstitutionally changing time date of the election because Article 1, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution gives that authority, this authority to prescribe the date, time, and manner of elections solely to the state legislatures. Again, not to judges, not to Secretary of States, not to electors, not to bureaucrats, solely to state legislatures. And what Alan Dershowitz is arguing here is that he believes that Trump's legal team will win that court case, particularly at the Supreme Court level. Justice Sam Alito has already issued a direct order to election officials requiring them to separate all ballots received after 8 p.m. on November 3rd from all ballots cast prior to 8 p.m. And Alito has already indicated that it appears rather clear that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did indeed overstep their bounds and violated the U.S. Constitution. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court obviously and blatantly rewrote the law. The court intervened in such a way that expressly changed the law from the unambiguous, non-negotiable deadline of 8 p.m. on Election Day. Now, if Dershowitz is right and Trump wins the Pennsylvania court case, gang, it's game on. Okay, the results of all of these other swing states will all get overturned as a result. Now, it's important because a number of these other swing states appear to have acted with comparable impropriety. And so many are saying that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision would be the first domino to fall in terms of the legal challenges. The Trump team appears to be using the same legal argument in Georgia, for example. Lynn Wood, who's another amazing attorney on Trump's legal team, he filed a suit over the weekend in Georgia alleging comparable improprieties with regard to their absurd Secretary of State there. I don't know if you've been following this, but it's been an absolute travesty what's going on in Georgia. It turns out that the Secretary of State there is a rabid anti-Trumper by the name of Brad Raffensperger. Raffensperger is a rhino par excellence, and he's purposely preventing a recanvassing of the vote in Georgia. He's purposely hurrying the recount. He's keeping Republican observers away from the tables where the votes are being recounted. And he actually said, as I understand it, that he wanted the final results as early as 3 p.m. this past Saturday, which was ridiculous. Wisconsin is taking 2 weeks to audit their vote. So if any of you were in Georgia, you want to contact your governor and your legislatures immediately and demand a full and complete audit of the vote with Republican observers adequately represented. I hear the Secretary of State has sequestered himself with COVID. How convenient. It appears to be an absolute travesty what's going on there, but it may not matter in the end. Trump's attorneys are taking on Georgia as well in terms of their improprieties. Remember, Atlanta was one of the cities where Joe Biden superperformed. Do you know about this? Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton tallies, 2016 tallies, in every single municipality in the nation, for the exception of 4: Milwaukee, Detroit, Philly, and Atlanta. And in these 4 cities, Biden didn't just overperform Hillary Clinton's 2016 levels. He superperformed. We're talking 95% turnout, which makes, of course, no sense. It's not like he campaigned there to any significant degree. There's no variable that accounts for this super performance. Again, we're talking levels above Obama in 2008. And so this is where I think Trump's legal team is going to have the most success in highlighting the voting irregularities and improprieties going on in these 4 swing states. A success that his legal team is saying will indeed overturn this election.